I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. It's a billboard battle over the reason for the season.
I'm very proud of what we've done, and we'll take them on anytime they want.
And Brooklyn's Knights and The Tablet team up to keep Christ in Christmas.
As Catholics, we need to promote Christmas as the birth of Jesus.
Plus, we go into the deep to talk about another feast day for Mary.
The apparition of Our Lady at Guadalupe to Juan Diego marked the beginning of the evangelization of the New World.
Well, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. Francesca Maxime has the night off. Well, 'tis the season to be jolly, for the most part. One of the busiest thoroughfares into and out of New York City is the site of a Christmas feud between an atheist organization and a Catholic civil rights group. The weapons in this feud are billboards. I headed to Manhattan on a chilly day yesterday to check out what some people see as the latest battleground in the war on Christmas.
If you've driven through the Lincoln Tunnel lately, you probably came upon this billboard on the New Jersey side. It refers to the Christmas story as a myth and calls on passers-by to celebrate reason. The eyebrow-raising sign was put up by the group American Atheists.
We believe that the church pews, especially around Christmas, are filled with atheists who call themselves Christians.
The president of American Atheists says the purpose of the billboard is to call out those closeted non-believers.
Most polls place the number of atheists in this country somewhere between 35 and 50 million people. That's a lot of people, more than Jews plus Muslims combined and doubled. But we believe that the number of atheists in this country is actually much higher. We are calling those people to say, hey, you know it's a myth.
But the president of the Catholic League is not buying that.
The real reason they did it was to stick it to Christians. They have no identity except for what they're opposed to. That's why they have no holiday. That's why they always rip off ours. It's hard for me to believe that any sentient human being driving his automobile into New York City, stuck in traffic, looking at a billboard saying that Christmas is a myth, is going to say, you know what, it's about time I joined the American Atheists. I mean, the whole idea is ludicrous.
When the Catholic League found out about the billboard taken out by American Atheists on the other side of the Lincoln Tunnel, they wanted to respond with a message of their own. So an anonymous donor came forward, providing the money to take out this billboard, which you see behind me here, at the corner of 31st Street and Dyer Avenue in Manhattan.
We put up our billboard here on the New York side of Lincoln Tunnel so that when the kids come in and they get offended by the atheist one in New Jersey, hello, they come into New York City and they've got a smile on their face because we have a nice statement, obviously a pro-Christmas statement.
I think it's sort of par for the course for the season. You always get this kind of war on Christmas topic around this time of year, and it's no different at the Lincoln Tunnel.
Father James Martin is a Jesuit priest and the culture editor for America magazine.
I don't know that either billboard is going to convince anybody either way. And, you know, one wonders if the money on both sides would have been spent better just helping the poor, because I would think that both the atheists and the Catholic League want to do that.
At least one passerby, though, says seeing the billboards and hearing about them at her parish did make her think differently about this holiday season.
It's actually brought more of an awareness to me to continue to say Merry Christmas to everyone and to keep Christ in Christmas.
And what did she think of the atheist billboard?
As offensive as it is, I think it is healthy because I think it needs to have people become aware of what's out there and the war against our faith and against Christ.
The American Atheist president told me his group is not trying to trash Christmas or Christians. They're trashing the idea that Christmas is the only holiday this time of year. And that's another point Donahue takes issue with.
But everybody knows, whether you're Catholic or non-Catholic, that December is about Christmas mostly. Just as in February, it's mostly about Black History Month, okay? And in July, we think in terms of the 4th of July.
Sizing up the competition, the American Atheist president, David Silverman, told me that he is disappointed that the Catholic League basically copied their idea. To that, Donahue says,
we felt it was necessary for our side to put down a cultural marker. I'm very proud of what we've done, and we'll take them on anytime they want.
And what about the whole idea of a war on Christmas? Donahue says it's been going on for decades, but Silverman says Christians stole the holiday from pagans centuries ago anyway.
For myself, I look around and I think that the war on Christmas has already been lost, basically. I think commercialism as a huge tsunami has just, sort of swept out almost all the religious vestiges of the season, before December 25th, and then people go to Mass. But I think before that, there's very little sort of religious left in the Christmas celebration.
Well, New York isn't the only ground for this feud. The Catholic League also says they're taking up another battle. This time it's in Florida. The city of Boca Raton put up menorahs in government buildings to celebrate the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. But the city will not display a manger scene, citing separation of church and state. The city reportedly views the menorah as a secular symbol. The Catholic League said in a statement that the menorah symbolizes a miracle and is therefore religious. The group offered to send a manger scene free of charge to Boca Raton, but the city has not responded. Well, stay with us. There's much more currents coming up. 40 days later, Christians in Iraq remember those who died in a bloody massacre at a cathedral in Baghdad. That story and the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, a local effort to keep Christ in Christmas. But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. Well, it's been 40 days since the deadly massacre at Our Lady of Deliverance Cathedral in Baghdad, and hundreds gathered at a memorial service for the victims. CNN's Jamona Karadsheh has more.
A somber and emotional commemoration for the 53 victims who were killed and the dozens more injured in a horrific attack on Iraqi Christians last October. As the faithful filed in for Mass, an al-Qaeda-affiliated group took them hostage and eventually turned the evening into a bloodbath.
As the priests here remind the worshippers during these prayers of what happened during that tragic day, it is clear that not many need a reminder. Sitting in a room with blood-splattered walls and bullet-riddled doors is enough of a reminder for many.
Rafa Buttress survived the attack, but her cousin Wasim, who was a priest, did not. Every time we saw each other, he would hug and kiss me, she tells us. But that day, I said I will see you and talk to you after Mass. This is what hurts the most, that I did not see him after that. Now he's gone. Rafa says she had not been to church in 3 years, but after her cousin Wasim threatened to stop visiting her if she didn't go, she went. Now she cannot stop coming. I feel like I'm attached to this place, she says. Every other day I come here. I feel like my soul is in this place with them. Maha Al-Khouri lost 5 relatives in the attack, and now she says fear has paralyzed their lives. My daughter refuses to go to college. She's afraid of everyone around her and avoids people, she says. We stay at home. We are afraid to go out, afraid to move. We're almost housebound. Like Maha, most of Iraq's Christians have been living in fear since the siege and the series of bombings and assassinations that have followed, targeting them in their own homes. The dwindling community, estimated to have numbered more than 1 million in Iraq before the war, is now down to about half that. Like other minority groups, the Christians here have not been spared the violence of the past 7 years. But many worry that this intensified campaign against them may just drive the country's remaining Christians away.
That is CNN's Jamona Karadsheh reporting. Well, meanwhile, in Iran, a Christian pastor has been sentenced to die for allegedly renouncing his Muslim faith. The 32-year-old man is pastor of a congregation in northern Iran. He says he was forced to make a confession admitting that he had converted to Christianity. In related news, another Christian pastor in southern Iran is facing possible indictment for the same charge. Well, the Vatican is in talks with the Palestine Liberation Organization to get legal status for the Catholic Church in Palestinian territories. The talks are the continuation of a basic agreement that was reached back in 2000. The Vatican is in separate talks with Israel aimed at reaching a similar agreement. Well, from the Netherlands, an investigative commission says it's received almost 2,000 reports of sexual or physical abuse against the Catholic Church. A spokesman for the church argues that a vast majority of the cases involve members of religious orders rather than diocesan clergy. He also says that most of the cases occurred before 1970. Here in New York, 2 men are charged with hate crimes after they reportedly attacked an imam on a subway train. Prosecutors say one of the suspects began arguing with the victim, then tried to kick him as he exited the train. A defense lawyer says it was a misunderstanding that turned into a fight. A nun is under arrest and charged with stealing more than $1 million from Iona College in New Rochelle in Westchester County. Sister Marie Thornton is the former vice president of finance for the Catholic school. She's accused of embezzling the money over a period of about 10 years. She surrendered yesterday morning and pled not guilty. Well, from New Jersey now, a 7-year legal battle has ended after the New Jersey Department of Motor Vehicles has agreed to offer license plates that say "Choose Life." The Children First Foundation, the official sponsor of the plates, announced the approval on Thursday. It came before a pending court case. The New Jersey officials there had initially rejected the plate, saying the pro-life slogan was too controversial. Well, back here in Brooklyn, Catholic Charities last night hosted the Bishop's annual testimonial dinner. We sent our cameras to the event at the Brooklyn Navy Yard.
Welcome to the 62nd annual Bishop's Testimonial Award reception.
Essentially, we're raising money really to continue our work in developing affordable housing in Brooklyn and Queens. We're proud to say that we have developed over 3,000 units for seniors, for families, and for the formerly homeless.
It's a wonderful thing to be able to give somebody the basic things they need, and that's housing, food, and a job. Those are the key things that we need, and Catholic Charities does all of them.
I'm pleased to be presenting the first award this evening to a very special friend, Kathleen Dunn. Ms. Dunn has overseen the creation or redevelopment of over 14,000 units of affordable housing.
It's a pleasure to really honor Kathleen tonight. What a workforce tremendous force she is in affordable housing.
I've known the work of Catholic Charities in Brooklyn and Queens for a long time, and I'm a big admirer of the work they do with the poor and families throughout the boroughs. So it's a big honor for me to be awarded this honor by them.
Our second award, the Ubi Caritas Deus Ibi Award, is being presented to a special friend of Catholic Charities, Monsignor Austin P. Bennett.
He's getting the Ubi Caritas Award for his many, many years of service as a priest, a wonderful priest in this diocese.
All the people working in charities are giving themselves to helping people who need them. And that's what I did, that's what I still do. I'm only 87, so I'm still at it.
Catholic Charities has a special knack of tapping people who are gifted and who can give more of themselves to others. So we're really happy tonight that these people are honored and that Catholic Charities continues to find people who are willing and generous in giving themselves to others.
And finally, one of the diocese's seminarians was ordained a transitional deacon this week. Rodnevla Pomeray is from St. Jerome's Church in Flatbush. He was one of 4 men that were ordained deacons this week at Immaculate Conception Seminary on Long Island. Now, the other 3 were from the Diocese of Rockville Center. Bishops from both dioceses participated in the celebration. Deacon LaPomeray is slated to be ordained a priest next year. Well, stay tuned. There's much more currents coming up. When we return, it's an Into the Deep about the patroness for the Americas.
Our Lady went to the simple, to those who were truly believers, and revealed to them the important things they needed to know.
Welcome back. Well, you know, this weekend marks another big feast day in the church, and it's one that's growing in importance in this country. It's the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, celebrating the reported apparition of Mary to a Mexican peasant, Juan Diego, over 500 years ago. For more insight into this event and the devotions surrounding it, we head tonight into the deep with Bishop DiMarzio. Bishop DiMarzio, thanks so much for joining us again. We appreciate it. We're talking today about Our Lady of Guadalupe. For those who don't know the story, the background here, explain it to us if you would.
Well, the apparition of Our Lady at Guadalupe to Juan Diego took place over 500 years ago. And it really marked the beginning of the evangelization of the New World. Christianity was brought by the Spanish to the New World, but it really was not growing very much. But then in this apparition, it really took off. The whole continent eventually became Catholic because of this special apparition. And it was unique because Our Lady appeared to Juan Diego, an Indian, who had just been recently a convert. On his way to catechism classes, he was continuing his understanding of the faith. It appeared to her in a very strange way because basically she was dressed as an Indian and looked like an Indian and had many Indian features. So she kind of was a mestizo, half Indian and half Spanish, and brought together the two cultures. And her message was certainly one that was one of evangelization. And poor Juan Diego wasn't believed, and so he went to the bishop to try to get a church built, because that's what the lady said, and they said we didn't believe him, so he went back, and she gave him the tilma, which was it's kind of a poncho that the Indians would wear, and her image was engraved on it. Scientifically, they've studied that image, and it's really unique. They can't figure out how humanly it could have been made. It's not painted, it's not woven in. It really is unique. And even to the detail that in Our Lady's eyes, you can see the reflection of a man, Juan Diego. Wow. And so it's really unique. And how that could have ever been produced at that time, 500 years ago, is just scientifically hard to explain. It was really miraculous. And the tilma exists till this day. It's just woven. It's just the woven cloth of that time, but it's been preserved, and it's really the object of devotion in Mexico City at the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Wow, it's very fascinating.
Yeah.
The story of Our Lady of Guadalupe has really become something that speaks, I think, to a lot of the Hispanic immigrants, especially those, we have a large influx of those here in Brooklyn and Queens as well. Why do you think the story speaks so much to that community, and what does it have to say today?
Well, especially for the Mexicans, that's their patroness, but she speaks to the issue of maybe probably equality to those who are poor. Juan Diego now has been declared a saint. He wasn't anybody really special, but Our Lady went to the simple, to those who were truly believers, and revealed to them the important things they needed to know about devotion to God and Christian values. So I think that's what the attraction is. It's something they can relate to. It isn't something beyond understanding. So I think that's the major attraction. And we will, on the vigil on the 11th and the 12th, we'll see thousands of people in church at different churches for the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and there'll be, I don't know how many thousands of roses in most of these churches. People bring them as a sign of their devotion, because when the tilma was opened up before the bishop, it was full of roses in December in Mexico, where they usually don't grow at that time.
Right.
Certainly not 500 years ago. There wasn't any way of preserving flowers at that time.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Hispanic immigrants and the issue of immigration, that's been something that's been a hot topic this past year. There's been a lot of discussion as well. The DREAM Act has been something that people have been trying to push through to help immigrants with their education. What are your thoughts on the DREAM Act?
The DREAM Act basically is an effort to legalize those who were brought here as children, who did not come on their own, anytime after their birth. They were brought here by their parents and they're in an undocumented status, to give them documentation. Why? Because of the block they have now to continuing their education. You can go to grammar school without a Social Security number, and maybe even high school, but when you get to college, you need a Social Security number. And these people don't have it. Many of them graduate at the top of their classes and just can't go to school, and they want to go to school. We're wasting talent, and that's part of it. And through no fault of their own, they find themselves in this situation. Estimates are probably close to 2 million people could benefit from this if we passed that law. The anti-immigrant people would say, oh, this is just a backdoor legalization program and these people don't deserve it, they should be sent home. The whole issue is very complicated. I've written a kind of a small book on it. It's very complicated questions. It's hard to do it in 2 minutes.
Right.
But truly, these people are here working, integrated into our society. They're not camped out in the streets. They're here, and they're part of our world. And we let them in because we needed their labor. Sure. We need now to give them some status and to also, at the same time, fix the border situation, fix the immigration law so we don't have this continual influx of people who come here without legal status. It's not good for the country. It's not good for them.
Sure. Well, Bishop DiMarzio, thanks so much for coming in and talking about it with us. We appreciate it. A lot of interesting topics there, and we'll have much more about Our Lady of Guadalupe on Monday night's show with a look into an innovative opera devoted to the apparition. But in the meantime, stay where you are. There's more Currents straight ahead. Just ahead, this Christmas celebration has a bell choir and a barbershop quartet.
Oh, come, let us adore Him. Christ the Lord.
Well, we began this show with a look at a new front in the so-called War on Christmas. But we end tonight with an effort to celebrate the holiday by keeping Christ in Christmas. It happened earlier this week in Dyker Heights, involving a partnership between the Knights of Columbus and the Tablet. And while the tools that are involved here are not as bold as the billboards along the highway, they do use art to make a statement.
The Knights of Columbus, for many, many years, has had a campaign called Keep Christ in Christmas. And what it does is just make people aware that as Catholics, we need to promote Christmas as the birth of Jesus.
A lot of children are growing up and they don't understand the story. They don't know the story because of the society that we live in. So we want to emphasize the religious aspect of Christmas.
They're taking away a sense of what it is to keep Christ in Christmas and what the season is really meaning.
People get too wrapped up in the presents and the decorating and the lights outside, and it's easy to forget what the real reason for Christmas is, which is Jesus.
We have been doing this Keep Christ in Christmas contest for several years. One year we did a poetry contest. Last year and this year we changed it to an art contest or a poster contest.
The Tablet is going to be presenting the awards to elementary school students and also the high school students, and we co-sponsor it with the Knights of Columbus.
Most of the children that participate in our contest are involved somehow in a Catholic program, whether it be a Catholic school, high school, grammar school. This year was double as many contestants as last year. The artwork is excellent, and the winner from tonight's high school level art contest has done a beautiful job.
They really tried very hard, and I think we put our whole heart and soul into the contest.
I love art, and I'm very religious, so I love doing things that show how religious I am and how much I celebrate Christmas every year.
Every year, the Knights of Columbus holds a campaign nationwide where we do Light Up for Christ.
They believe that Christ is the light of the world, and they like to light up their building here so that everybody knows that it's Christmas and they get an idea of what we're celebrating.
All of the Knights of Columbus councils that participate light their either Christmas trees, nativity scenes, or Advent wreaths at the same time.
We had a barbershop group.
Glory to God.
And the Knights of Columbus invited the school choirs from Our Lady of Guadalupe and also from St. Bernadette's to come. So we had a choir, and then we had a bell choir from Our Lady of Guadalupe. The kids are going to be great because kids are really what Christmas is all about. It was about the birth of a child, and we like to remember children at Christmas time.
As Catholics, we want to say Merry Christmas and let everybody be aware that it's all about the birth of Jesus at this time of year.
Well, that is it for tonight. Remember, we're always online over at currentsny.net. You can follow us on Facebook and on Twitter as well. We're all over the internet. Until next time, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night and a great weekend. Stay warm out there.